cutting boards turned into this. So, yeah. So if you're in Dallas or if you're at the center, check it out. They're just exquisite. We love having new art every month as a backdrop. It's fabulous. All right, so we are talking about manifestation, right? We're in this part of the general summary where we're talking about manifestation. And we talked about it a little bit. We talked about acceptance and realization last week, and how important the idea of accepting the thing that we are seeking to manifest, accepting it as if it's already happened. Now, we skipped a paragraph, and there's a couple of paragraphs on the next page I just really want to stop and highlight, because it's a question that happens a lot. And maybe you have this question yourself. And that is, when you are doing manifestation work, should we be general or should we be specific? Should we focus on a quality of life experience, or should we say, I want a, specific brown, beautiful trotter horse because I happen to be a horse person? How general or how specific should we be? So the answer, one way of thinking about the answer is right here on page 398 in the middle of the page, the second full paragraph. When we treat, we should be specific. That seems pretty clear, doesn't it? When we treat, we should be specific. Now, what we aren't specific is, I want your house, or I want your job. No, we don't do that. But we can say, I want a job just like that, or a house just like that, when we see something that we're really inspired by. But this is the co-creative process, and it being specific invites us into the power of our choosing, that we can choose something. And I find it fascinating at how unwilling we are to actually choose, because we are afraid that we're going to limit ourselves. But the reality of it is we're constantly limiting ourselves, and we can limit ourselves simply by not choosing, because we're also then not giving clear direction in the process of manifestation. Now, do you have to get down to every nitty-gritty detail? That depends on you. That depends on how specific you want to be. If we want money, we wish money, we should ask for or mentally accept money. If we wish a home, we should ask for or mentally accept a home. We can put as much detail into our mental work as we desire. Sometimes to do so will be of great service in gaining a complete mental acceptance of our desires, right? So there's that word acceptance. This is the whole secret, a complete mental acceptance and embodiment of the desire, right? And so what we realize is that the work is here. We're not saying, well, I'm going to do some affirmative work around love, and then say, okay, however the universe is going to provide that, right? Which we may be thinking of a partner, and actually what we get is a puppy. I've seen it happen, right? Puppies are loving. They're very loving, and they fulfill a certain kind of love. They're very unconditional, but you don't actually have to do the hard work of being in a relationship, and it actually doesn't fulfill that idea of having a partner. And so we do have to actually give some concrete idea to the process of demonstrating, unless we truthfully really are open to whatever shows up. Now, I do that a lot when I'm traveling. I love to travel. I love to think about if I'm going to go somewhere. I read a little bit about it. I find out what some of the main points of interest are, but I don't necessarily make a detailed itinerary, because I do actually want every day to show up fresh and new, which is kind of the fun of it. But I chose to go to that location. I didn't just say, well, I'm going to get in my car or hop on a plane and go wherever the plane is going, right? We actually give it some direction. Now, we can be as specific as we choose if that helps in our mental acceptance. But we want to be careful. Let me say that again. We want to notice how often we are in resistance to choosing, because we have this false idea that it is limiting us. But that's what we're here to do. That's how you create, right? Jeff, making these beautiful pieces of work, right? He chose certain pieces of wood, which meant that he didn't choose others. He didn't just walk around and hope wood would fall into his lap, or, well, I'm just going to mish some wood together, right? He actually allowed it to show up in a more specific way. And certainly I'm thinking that he spent a lot of time on these beautiful butterflies, organizing them and thinking about how are the pieces going to lay together, and then he allowed it to unfold. So that idea about being specific is really important. So on the top of page 399, if one were to make a complete mental picture of him or herself as we would like to be, filling in all the details of our desire and trying to accept the whole thing as a present reality, we would soon demonstrate that the control of affairs is from within out and not from without in. The cause being whatever exists in our mental picture. And so this is, again, notice how many times in this work Ernest Holmes uses the word acceptance. To accept it, not to cast it into the law, not to think about it and hope that the law is going to do something about it, right? Not to say, well, whatever spirit thinks is best for me. Over and over and over again, the idea is the acceptance of the mental picture. Now, there's lots of ways that we can describe the mental picture. So let's take, for instance, something that a lot of people work on, which is financial demonstrations. We can, in fact, be very specific. I am manifesting a job that makes this much money. I have this much money in my bank account. I'm going to grow my investments till I have this much money. We can be very clear and specific about that. We can also be just as specific by saying, I have financial freedom to experience the life that I desire. All my needs are met. Do you know, see that that's actually quite specific as well. And yet it is a lifestyle experience and is just as valuable and important. The question is, can we accept it? For some people, it's easier to accept individual things that they do treatment for, right? And then they have an identifiable TSRW, and this stuff really works, and they say, oh, see there. And yet that can grow into a recognition that we can be very specific about a kind of life. A life that is free from financial worry, and a life that allows us to have the kind of experiences that we want to have, the kind of life that we want to express, make the kind of contributions that we want to make. And that is equally as specific, as opposed to simply saying, well, I'll be as abundant as Spirit wants me to be, or as I'm supposed to be, which is equally as inappropriate, because that has nothing to do with our level of acceptance. We should be careful to distinguish daydreaming and wistful wishing from really dynamic and creative treatment. Daydreaming, right, is a great place to start. We can be imaginative and dream about, we also want to be really careful that it's not populated by what we think we should want, or the shows and movies that we've seen. I find it fascinating that in most shows, nobody works. Nobody works. They all have, designer apartments, and all they do is hang out with their friends. And it's just really astonishing. And so we want to be careful that we don't have a false picture of reality. We are actually here to contribute and to create and to express. We're not here just purely to buy stuff and to hang out. So our daydreaming and our wistful wishing can help point the direction of the kinds of things that we're interested in, or that would fulfill us, or that we would like to give as a contribution. But what we need is a dynamic and creative treatment. When we treat, we do not wish, we know. We do not dream, we state. We do not hope, we accept. There's that word again, we accept. We do not pray, we announce. We do not expect something is going to happen. We believe that it has already happened. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the work is, to move to the place where we believe that we actually have that capability, that we are, in fact, the universe experiencing itself as us, as individuals who are saying, as we give a nod to the ancient Hebrew mystics, let there be light. Let there be a happy life. Let there be a free life. Let there be better social conditions. Let there be a healed idea of how to handle the planet, right? We are announcing, stating, claiming, declaring, and accepting. And I think it was brought out last week how when we really press on this idea that we are announcing it and claiming it and accepting it as it has already happened, one of the beauties of doing that is we actually reveal our unbelief. We reveal our yeah, but. Well, yeah, but, I don't have that kind of job. Yeah, but, my childhood. Yeah, but, my trauma. Yeah, but, we're only human. That's my favorite excuse. Well, but, we're just human. So what do you expect? But we're actually spiritual beings. And so this is such a powerful way to think about manifestation. And what we're doing is this internal work, and then what the law does is automatic. Right? We're not turning on the law. We're not making the law do anything. It's already constantly working, just like the law of gravity. I mean, we didn't get up this morning, put our foot on the floor, and say, "Turn on, please, law of gravity. I am going to submit myself into the law of gravity." And we don't say any of those things, right? We just get out of bed assuming that the law of gravity is working, that it will automatically do what it's supposed to do, right? And so the universal law that we're using is just as automatic, and we're using it right now whether we know it or not. Everybody's using it constantly, is co-creating through that universal principle that says, as within, so without. And so what we're wanting to do is to build a new image within, which is the acceptance of our good, and it's the acceptance of the good that we believe all of us should be experiencing. We should think clearly and allow the image of our thoughts to sink into a subjective state. I think that's a gorgeous description of what acceptance is. It sinks into our subjective state. We do not crowd them down. I'm going to make myself believe this. We let them sink into this inner receptivity with power and with conviction. I love that image, right? Our acceptance means we make it real to ourselves. It feels real to us. It seems real to us. Whether we can visualize it or not. Remember, a mental image isn't a movie. For most of us, it's not a movie. It's little snatches of an image, it's a feeling, it's a tone, it's a kind of activities. There's a sense of it. And so we don't want to get hung up on the idea of a mental image purely being a visualization. For some people, it's a series of words that capture the essence of it, right? So because we're all so uniquely designed, it is that it is the allowing it to sink into our subjective state. We do not crowd this down. We let them sink into this inner receptivity with power and with conviction. Like, what an interesting juxtaposition of words that is. Receptivity with power and conviction. And so we're actively engaged in this process. We're not just hoping somehow that something out there is going to make a decision for us and say what's best for us. Now, once we've given it some specificity, then we're in the dance. We're in the dance with the law, and we're following the prompts, and we're listening, and we're following the door that opens. We're not getting freaked out by the door that closes. We are allowing it to unfold. But we've started with this announcing, stating, and accepting, believing that it has already happened. All right, so we're going to talk about this. What do you feel about general treatment, spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative work that's general or specific? You can put it in the chat. We can talk about it here in the room. Ryan's going to tell you how you can come into the room as you are online. What do you think and feel about this idea that when we do this work, we should be specific, or how do we hold that? So we'd love to hear what you think or have comments about or questions about. So Ryan, we're going to turn to you and say good morning. Say good morning to all those folks out there in the ethers, as Reverend Patty says, and see what's going on.
Welcome to the Ethernet. I guess. Yeah, that used to be a thing.
It used to be a thing a long time ago.
Absolutely. Well, hello everybody here in the room. I'm the guy who's hidden away over here in the cords and the cables. And hello to everybody who's watching us on Zoom and on Facebook Live. We love to have you here with us today, wherever you're joining us in the world. We're glad that you made it here. And I know we have a lot of folks all around the world. Yes, so for everybody, this is an engaging experience. We don't want you to sit on the sidelines. We want you in the conversation with us. And there's a couple ways to do that. So for everybody here in the room, I'm going to test you out again today. I like doing this now for some weird reason. Okay, everybody lift up your left hand. Everybody lift up your right hand.
What?
Now wave them all around.
Oh, and do the hokey pokey. No.
Absolutely. Y'all didn't know you were going to do some exercise this morning. All right, and so for everybody here on Zoom, let's go and see you hit the raise your hand icon located down below. Let's see how many people I can get to do this morning. I'm taking bets. Oh, I'm almost full. Holy cow. Everybody's starting to remember where these hands are at. COVID did that to us, right? All right, thank you all for raising your hands. And for you all who are joining us on Zoom, you can use the QA, the chat, or you can simply raise your hand, and I'll bring you into the room, and we can hear you, and they can hear you online as well. And for those who are on Facebook, make sure you check in and tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to hear the fact that you're all over the world and all over the place. So we love to hear where you're from. And feel free to put your questions and your comments in there as well. And as always, I have the iconic Richard here with me. And we're testing out our brand new microphones. Do. I know y'all can't see this right now online, but we got some new microphones here for our setup. So they're wireless. Yay. So instead of me and Richard walking, we're going to throw them to you. Right? And we're going to see if you can catch it. For all those who are listening online, don't worry, I'll leave it unmuted. So you'll hear a clonk, ow, and then a question. So it'll be really great. So we're going to poll the room. Does anybody here in the room have a question before I go to the ones that are online?
Comment,
just
or how have you experienced
raise your hand.
this?
Going once, going twice.
Oh, right here.
Oh, all right. The first time we get to try out our microphones.
Yay. And please, everybody, say your name, whether you're online or in person, so we continue to get to know each other.
Good morning. My name is Chris Barber, and I'm so grateful to be here right now to hear this in particular, because it's the best reminder and of when you decide
Yes.
and make a choice. Decide is a derivative of a Greek word, means to cut away from.
Oh.
And when you make a decision, everything that does not align with that decision gets revealed, which is exactly what you were saying, and that is where the rubber meets the road. So thank you for the reminder.
Oh,
Thank
you are so welcome. Thank you. And that was Chris from San Diego. They come and see us and visit us when they're in town. So super happy to have you here. Yay. So I love that Greek word decide. I did not know that. That is so great, right? And just choosing and deciding, it does actually cut everything else away. And I think that's why people are afraid to limit themselves. But the point is, you can always decide again, right? You can always choose again. Every choice is not going to be the one you actually wanted. That's a part of how we learn what we're actually trying to express, is by making choices and going, oh, that feels right. Oh, yeah, this is really fulfilling me. Or, oh, I thought that was going to be it, but I'm 2 years down the road, and yeah, not so much. And that's it. We feel like, well, if I make a choice or I make a decision, I'm either stuck with it, or I don't know. I wonder if sometimes people think the law is going to punish them for for changing their mind or making a new decision. That is really great. I love that you said that. Thank you so much. All right, Ryan.
So I have a question that came through,
Great.
and then Connie, I'm going to call on you next. But this is going just in alignment with what you're talking about. It's about manifesting. And the question basically says, it seems like it's easier to accept the general picture when you're trying to think about what it is that you're manifesting. And they gave an example of you're treating for a red car, but you might miss out on an opportunity to get a blue car because you're so specific, right?
Right.
So what do you advise in that type of scenario?
Well, so I think it just depends on how much you want a red car, right? If you want a red car, then go for a red car. What do you mean you're missing out on a blue car? You didn't want one. So how can you be missing out on something you didn't want? Now, so if you want a certain type of car or you want a certain type of experience, be as specific as you want to be, right? So I love my examples inevitably end up being about traveling because I really love to travel. And so I will, when I'm creating a trip, what I like to do is make sure that I have a place to lay my head. That's what I like to make sure, and a way to get from one place to the other. But I don't want all the places to lay my head to be exactly the same. So I'll go from a really nice 4 or 5 star hotel to a youth hostel to a bed and breakfast, because I want those different kinds of experiences. But I'm choosing them one after another. And I know what I'm going to get when I get there. I know what kind of experience I'm going to have. And that's how some people like to travel in nothing but 5-star hotels. Other people want to travel with nothing but a backpack and go from hostel to hostel, right? So there's no right answer. This is the thing that I think is so important. There's no right answer. There's no right answer to how you do your life. So a few years ago, I decided I want a convertible. And I spent 6 months determining what kind of convertible I wanted. I decided I wanted a BMW. Did I miss out on the Miata and the 3 or 4 or 5 other cars? No, because I decided I wanted a BMW, right? So how can I miss out on something? And so this is exactly what we're talking about this false belief that we're it's actually not a false belief. Let's just stop and say, when you choose something, you are in fact saying no to everything else in that category. You are, right? But the problem is, without making a choice, you get nothing. Or you get a hodgepodge. Or you get I guess this is what I'm supposed to have. But why not choose? And a car is a great example. We often use physical examples because they're tangible. You can either see it, you either manifested it or not. But this does not mean that all manifestation is about things or that all specificity is about things, right? So when I moved to Texas and I had an infant son and I moved in with my parents, I decided I wanted to go back to school, and that would shape really beautifully in with this experience of wanting to also be around my son. And so I began to look at schools, and I decided that I was going to follow up with industrial and organizational psychology, IO psychology, because I love organizational work. And so I went to a number of schools around here, all very good, you know, TCU and SMU and I don't know what all else, and I looked at all these and I looked at all the programs. And I thought, you know, this will help me get a job because I can't do ministry with a child. There was a false belief. And I walked around and I looked at all these, and every single one of them was based on behaviorism, research and behaviorism. And I thought, that wasn't. So I was being very specific, and it did not ring true for me. Had I not been that specific, I might have ended up in one of those schools, found myself in a program that I wasn't sure about, and then would really have to, you know, I could make a new decision and have to transfer or find another program. What I did instead was realize that that is not what I wanted. And so partly choosing also helps us say, oh, I look at this red car, but it's not what I wanted. Or I don't really care that it's red. What I really care about is X, Y, and Z. It's fast, or it's big, or it'll pull my boat, or right, whatever. I actually realized the red part isn't as important as a bunch of other parts. And so what happened for me is that I stumbled across the University of Dallas, which is a liberal arts college. And because I was so disenchanted with the IO psychology programs that I began to just look at, well, what other colleges are there? And I stumbled across University of Dallas and their Great Books program. And I read it, the Great Books program, the liberal arts program, read Plato and Aristotle and Shakespeare and William Wordsworth and all about politics and art and religion, and like this true liberal arts, one of the 4 liberal arts colleges left in the United States, or at least it was at the time. And every part of my being said, that speaks to me. That is what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. And it was only because I was willing to be specific about a program, but also pay attention. Right? Being specific about something doesn't mean you're locked in. It helped me see that that was not what I wanted. Then I got really specific about that. And then here I am, 32 years old with a child, and they want my parents' financial information. I'm like, my parents are not paying for school. They're not paying for me to go to school. I'm 32, I have a child, I am not 18 or 19. They did not know what to do with a returning student. So I had to become very specific in my mind, very specific. No, you don't need my parents' financial information. Yes, I expect to get a boatload of financial aid. Whatever is available, I'm going to receive. They didn't know what to do with me as a returning student, as somebody who was 32 at the time. They had no idea. They really didn't focus on returning students. But I was so specific. I am going to get financial aid. I got a huge scholarship package. I got massive financial aid. I got a fabulous job in the library with the books. Oh my God. How horrible was that? Oh, it was terrible. And because I was so specific, this is the program I want. And no, the way that you do your financial aid is not going to work for me. So clearly I'm going to be your exception. And I was. Right? Do you see that then at that point, my specificity was exactly what drove that manifestation home. And so it's the play of the specificity, right? We're specific about it, and then we feel into it. Is this it? Is this really right? Does this fulfill me? Does this, and then we're having that dance. But at each point, there comes a point where we choose and we become specific, and then we go for it, and then we see, oh, this feels right. Not, this is a yes or a no. Then we think, oh, that's a message from the universe. No, that just means we haven't had our demonstration yet. I've had lots of no's, and I just don't pay any attention to them. If it feels right, if this is what I know there is to do, and I'm doing that demonstration work, I just keep working at it. I just keep working at it until that no turns into a yes of some sort, some kind that is within the framework of what I have been specific about. And so, so I think that we should just we should realize that we actually get to want what we want. We really do. And whether you get a red car or a blue car is not going to harm anybody. Really? It's not going to harm anybody. And I don't think the universe cares. I don't think the universe has an opinion that a red car or a blue car is better, or that, right? It is, in fact, what it is that gives you joy and allows you to express yourself. And as I said before, you might, in the process, realize, oh, wait, the color isn't even the issue. The color is, in fact, not as important as some of its features or the way it drives. And so now I'm being specific about the features I want and how it drives, and whether it's red or blue is really immaterial, because I'm being more specific about the things that are, in fact, important to me. Or maybe I realize that actually none of that's important to me. What's important to me is it must fit into my budget. Maybe that's what's important to me. I realize as I'm working is that I'm going to be I know this is my budget and I'm not spending any more than this. And so I'm being specific about that. And then I can say, oh, I have this choice and this choice and this choice because I've been specific about the budget. I'm not going to go over this amount total or this amount monthly. Do you see? We can be specific wherever that allows us to feel into this. This is what's important to me. This is what I'm seeking to manifest. I hope that helps kind of get a handle on that. And we can grow that, right? I remember at one point saying, if I'm going to be in Dallas, which I love this community, I love the work I do here, not so crazy about the environment, not a lot of mountains. I'm a big mountain girl, not a lot of mountains. And so at that point, my specificity was, if I'm going to live in Dallas and this is where my work has called me, I have to travel to the mountains. And so that's what I do. I travel to the mountains regularly. And I recognize then traveling in general fed me in a way that I love to walk. I know a lot of the hikes and parks and things around here. I love to be outside, but there's something really feeding to me to be in nature. And so that became my specific. Do you see? My specific was I must regularly travel to nature. That's specific. Right? It might not be, to Colorado or to here or to there, although it did end up for years being to Colorado, and now it's New Hampshire. Do you see? I think sometimes we even miss kind of what we mean by specific. And so that's the kind of thing we can test out as we're doing this work, feeling into what am I actually being specific about? What is actually important to me? All right, so we're going to stop there, and I know that, Ryan, you had somebody you wanted to bring into the room, see what other comments you have. How have you experienced this yourself?
That's a weird question, and how have you experienced yourself? Well,
no,
today,
how have you experienced this yourself?
Oh,
being
okay.
general or specific.
That's different. I was just pondering, how do I experience myself today?
I experienced myself brilliantly.
I would experience myself a heck of a lot better if I had some coffee.
But
I'm all right, yeah.
Get that man some coffee.
Yeah. Dennis, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and join the conversation?
Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, what's coming to mind for me, I thought, okay, this is interesting how all these practices just kind of like all dovetail together. And so and I'm sitting here just contemplating this, okay, I've been in this boat before where I do not start with something specific. I'm just not happy with whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be an emotional thing. It can be like, I don't like the flowers in the front yard. It can, whatever.
Right.
Okay, so one thing I know is I want a change. That's what I do know. Okay. That's where I start applying the what, not the how, and just start listening. That will lead me to something specific. Suddenly something will go, bingo, now I can do treatment.
Right. Beautiful. Well, and the specific that started you off was, I want a change, right? That is very specific. And I want to change in my yard. And I don't like the way it looks now. I want it to look different. That is a fabulous place to start. Dennis, thank you so much for sharing that, right? I think we have a very narrow understanding of what it means to be specific. And then we can follow the specificity as we're moving along. Beautiful. Thanks, Dennis. Did you have somebody else out there, Ryan?
Yeah, I did, actually. And the word for today, everybody, say it along with me, specificity.
Specificity.
Exactly. That's why I'm making it the word of the day. All right, everybody.
Say it 3 times fast.
Yeah, not happening. All right, Brenda, do you want to go ahead and join us?
Good morning, Brenda.
There we go.
Good morning, Dr. Petra and community. I love your description of the dynamic interplay between specific and general. And Dennis, you started totally right of something needs to be changed, and I'm often not clear what that is. And I find my next layer of specificity, I often have to deconstruct the ego basis, the attachment basis, and then go from back to generality. I accept my good, but in order to receive, I have to work through the worthiness. I have to work through the empowerment to claim, to choose, to put that stake in the ground, and then the snippets of visualization and specificity condense. And so there's this deepening layers of I'll change my old analogy of the onion to the new analogy of the petals of the flowers opening.
Yes.
And that dance of specificity and receptivity and hearing until that knowing and conviction point arrives.
Yes.
And the greatest lesson I've gotten from you recently on that was go for the feeling and the experience, not the physical manifestation.
Right.
And that has blossomed.
Beautiful. Oh, Brenda, thank you so much. And you've really said something really important. We often think that specificity means form, when in fact specificity really means the feeling and the experience of it, which may have a particular form, or it may have lots of potential different kinds of forms. And we have to feel our way through that. And yeah, it's really beautiful what you said, that we are often too hung up thinking specificity means form. It does not, unless it does, right? I will tell you that the thing that I find I am most specific about is when I'm doing spiritual mind treatment, I'm doing my affirmative work around a particular physical healing. If I have a knee that hurts, or I'm doing treatment for someone who has a heart attack, I am being very specific. I'm being specific about the wellness of the knee or the heart or the whatever it is. I'm being utterly specific. Now, when I don't need to do that, especially when I don't need to do that for myself, then my treatment is for health and strength so that I can travel, which is also specific. Do you see? Right? It's specific in that I want to have a certain kind of life and I want to be able to do something. But those are 2 levels of specificity based on what's going on for us. So when we have particular needs, we can certainly do particularly specified spiritual mind treatment and affirmative work. And when we have more of a general experience, quality of life, feeling we're looking for, then we can be very specific about that. But what I really want to, I want to highlight, on the one hand, not to be afraid of that. Yes, you are in fact limiting, but you cannot do everything at once. You can't have everything at once. Science of Mind does not say that you can have everything that you want all at once. It does say you can have anything you want that you are willing to announce, claim, and accept. And our life is all about the education of our choices. Are we making our choices from our deepest self, not from the egoic needs? Are we making choices from that which resonates with who we've come here to be, how we want to express our life? Or are we making choices based on the media, advertising, family and friends, whatever it is, right? And so what's happening constantly is the quality of our choice is being educated. We are educating ourselves in the quality of our choices because we can never not choose. Even deciding not to choose is a choice, right? It is a decision. I'm not going to choose. Sometimes what we really want to say is, I'm not going to choose yet. I haven't quite gotten to that place where resonance has happened, or where alignment has come into being, or where I really sense that I know what it is that I want. But to simply refuse to choose is in itself a choice. Then the universe only has whatever is in our past, whatever our past acceptance has been, it only has that to create the life that we're currently having. And so, yeah, that's a recipe for not changing. That's a recipe for nothing ever changing and nothing ever being different than it is or than it has been. And so by beginning to work with this, we begin to parse out the kind of life that we want to have, but also that allows us to contribute our gift. This isn't just about, oh, me and my little life, right? But deciding to choose, where am I going to now take my consciousness to the work that needs to be done in the world? Is it about racism? Is it about women's issues? Is it about LGBT issues? Is it about the climate? Is it about homelessness, right? There's all kinds of things, and we can't individually be about all of that. What we can is be about some of that that really speaks to us, knowing that other people are dealing with that which speaks to them. And we're collectively making those choices because we are deciding and choosing to be very specific about making a difference, to be very specific about the kind of outcomes that we're looking for, right? Just read our global vision. You'll know what kind of outcomes we're working towards, right? And so all of the same things apply. It's not just about our own little life and how happy we are. It's about making sure that we're also contributing to lives that work for everyone. All right, so we are going to come to the end at this point, and we did have an opportunity to acknowledge Jeff with his beautiful work here. So when you're on campus, please do come look at it. We do have a Seder dinner coming up April 15th. It's going to be fabulous. Go out on the website, CSLDallas.org/events, and get your tickets. It's a metaphysical interpretation of the Seder dinner, and we talk about freedom and bondage that we are currently in and how we break out of that. It's really a powerful evening. Of course, we have Easter coming up, fabulous service on Easter, all kinds of amazing things. So go out on CSLDallas.org. We're on step number 5 with painting a new picture today in our Step Out in Faith program. So we have some super, super cool things planned for you today. All right. I really look forward to seeing you again online, here in the room, wherever we see you. Thanks. Bye for now.